Leftists frequently accuse us right-wingers of not believing in science. You rotten conservatives with your silly, fantastical God, they say, you don't understand that a simple series of natural laws that came out of nowhere not only caused a universe without cause, but created a mind that could understand that universe, even though its randomness renders it incomprehensible. Because this is only one of an infinite number of imaginary universes we made up to explain all this away. You backward conservative troglodytes, they say. You think a formless blob of cells in a woman's womb is a separate person when it hasn't even come through the magic vagina yet, where special humanity dust is sprinkled on it and it suddenly develops the right not to be torn to pieces. You Trump-loving jackasses, they continue. You don't even accept the absolute fact that our computer models can predict the future of a climate far too complex for your right-wing computers, and so we know with absolute certainty that the whole world is going to die 7 years ago if you don't give us all the money and power. Well, thanks for your input, left-wingers, and just to show how open-minded we are, let's take a look at some more left-wing science. Here, for instance, is a wonderful blog called The Selfish Activist, where body-centered therapist Tada Hazumi tries to teach what he calls white-bodied people how to be allies to other-bodied people. And if body-centered therapy is not an example of left-wing science, I don't know what is. Right now on Hazumi's blog, there's a post entitled, "Why White People Can't Dance." The scientific Hazumi says, quote, and yup, these quotes are real, "Colonization and westernization have profoundly impacted the way we move our bodies. Just think about even this little fact. Most non-European people didn't wear pants before colonization. They wore robes and skirts, no matter the gender. We also generally didn't sit on chairs. We squatted or sat on the ground. Many of our cultures didn't glorify tight, muscular abs. We didn't march like rigid European soldiers did. We walked using a slight skating motion from side to side and a subtle ripple up the spine," unquote. Now, I know you'd think Hazumi would be grateful that white people came along and taught these flabby, chairless, rippling, skirt-wearing savages some sense. But no, he goes on to say, quote, "I understand now that whiteness is an energetic imbalance caused by a loss of spinal fluidity and awareness of the lower body. Emotional energy becomes concentrated in the upper body, particularly gathering in the mind. The white body is in freeze. It is ungrounded and cannot feel the earth. We see this pained energy of whiteness play out in our society through violence towards sexuality, emotional vulnerability, and ecology, amongst other things," unquote. So you see, left-wingers, the truth is, writing like this makes me love your left-wing science. The new Norm Macdonald comedy special is also pretty funny. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shape, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
All right, it's mailbag day, and yes, all I've got is Mathis. I'm in this wreckage of a studio all by myself. We're still building this thing. The little mice are coming. It's kind of like Cinderella. The mice and the birds are building our studio. Squirrels are coming in. We get a lot of rats, but that's okay as long as they don't. We don't have to pay them as much, and we will get these studios done probably by mid-July. They're telling me now, and so for all this time, I'm just sitting here in the wreckage pretending. But I do have the lamps from the Motel 6 in back of me. That's my favorite part. Every time I see this, I think, like, why am I broadcasting from like the No-Tell Motel? That's like, anyway. So, but if you want to keep the time, you got to get a watch, right? If you want to know when our studio will be here, you got to get a watch, and the best way to get a watch is at Movement. Movement is spelled MVMT. They take out the O and the E's and the N because you're going to need them. Because when you look at their website, you're going to go OE, and those good-looking watches. Yes, they are. I just made that up. These are just movement watches. They really are. Go on the website. You will see they're absolutely terrific. Movement.com, MVMT.com. And you will see their selection of beautiful, fashionable, very modern watches that you can get for low prices because, well, basically what happened is these two kids were talking. They were like college kids. And they said, we love watches, and I'm the same way. I love watches. I love timepieces, but you don't want to spend all your money on a watch. There's just something about it. It just doesn't, it gets to you. It's like it's too much to spend on a watch. So at MVMT, Movement Watches, these start at like $95, and these watches would cost you in a department store $400 to $500. But they figured out that by selling online, they were able to cut out the middleman and retail markup and provide the best possible price. They give you classic design, quality construction, styled minimalism. They kind of got those black things with the no numbers on them. They're really fashionable and beautiful. They've sold over 1 million watches in over 160 countries, and if you go on their site, you will see why instantly. You can get 15% off today with free shipping and free returns by going to movement.com. That's MVMT.com/Andrew. Put in Andrew and you will get 15% off plus free shipping and free returns. This watch has a really clean design. I've gotten lots of compliments on them. They really are beautiful, and they just, you'll see. I mean, they'll sell. I don't have to sell them to you. They'll sell themselves. Go to MVMT.com/Andrew and join the movement, or the movement, because you can't pronounce it without the O-E and the N. I don't know why did they take out the O-E and the N. I guess it's because it's so minimalist. That's what it is. All right. So some of you may have noticed there was a minor, election, a special election in Georgia. Here is how CNN was reporting the Georgia 6th District vote just a few days ago, about June 10th. Democrat John Ossoff has a 7 percentage point edge over Republican Karen Handel among likely voters in a closely watched special election for a Georgia House seat. A new poll released Friday shows. Ossoff leads Handel 51% to 44% among likely voters in an Atlanta Journal-Constitution poll. This is one of two polls that had him 7% ahead. The poll shows Ossoff is picking off 13% of Republicans and 50% of independents in a district that's historically has been reliably red. Newt Gingrich and more recently new Health and Human Services Secretary Tom Price represented it, but Handel, the Republican candidate, is drawing virtually no Democratic support. Here, that was what they said the results were going to be. Here are the real results.
We're going to win so much. We're going to win at every level. We're going to win economically. We're going to win with the economy. We're going to win with military. We're going to win with health care and for our veterans. We're going to win with every single facet.
Zippity-dee-dah, my, oh my, what a wonderful day.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. You'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore.
I feel pretty, oh so pretty. I feel pretty and witty and gay.
We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Oh, I love it. I love it. This is a special. These were special elections to replace guys who had gone into the Trump administration. In Georgia, Tom Price obviously became the Health and Human Secretary, Human Services guy, and so they had to replace him, and they just poured all this money. All the Democrats, Hollywood, California was throwing money at this thing. It was the most expensive, turned out to be the most expensive race for Congress by like 100%. It was like twice as expensive as the last one. They were just trying to show that people hated Trump so much, and their hatred of Trump that they've been touting through their media, the Democrats have been touting through their mainstream media, had just destroyed Trump's support. And this was a place where Trump narrowly won. See, that was the big thing. Even though Republican congressmen have won this place by 20%, Newt Gingrich, and Tom Price won it by double digits, Trump only won by 1.5%, under 2%. And so they thought, well, this is our chance, this is our chance. They went in. Here is CNN reporting the results. All right, I don't want to drink, Democrat tears, but they just taste so good. I can't help it. I can't help it. Oh, Lord. This is the thing. It just goes, it's the same thing over and over and over again. There have now been, I think, 4 of these special elections. They have lost every one of them. Every one before it took place was going to be a referendum on Donald Trump. And then afterwards, well, it didn't mean anything. It doesn't show anything. This is not, we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves and think this is predictive of 2018. 2018 is too far away for anything to be predictive of it one way or the other. This is not something, this is the midterm elections. We don't know what those are going to be like. But was this a referendum on Donald Trump? Before we talk about it and before we listen to the experts and before we listen to, the pundits and all the people talking about what it means, let's listen to the voters, okay? Because here is Karen Handel during her victory speech thanking Trump, who showed up and gave her support on Twitter as well.
And a special thanks to the President of the United States of America. Vice President Mike Pence.
If she hadn't interrupted them to go on to Mike Pence, they'd have been chanting till today. They'd have chanted all night, Trump, Trump, Trump. And all the reporters on the ground said when they talked to the voters said, hell yes, this is about Donald Trump. You can't come into our district and start pouring all this money in from outside Hollywood. Rosie O'Donnell, Jane Fonda, this is from Variety. Jane Fonda, Jessica Lange, Sean Daniel, Connie Britton, Sam Waterston, and Kyra Sedgwick are among those who have donated to Democrat John Ossoff's campaign. And I'm sure each and every one of them knows the issues in Georgia really, really well. No, they don't. They don't know the issues in America. They just know the way they look in the mirror and how wonderful they are for supporting their left-wing causes. Alyssa Milano actually traveled there. She's the lady from Who's the Boss? I think she was in. She actually traveled there and visited voters and all this stuff. So Hollywood was all in. The media was all in. The reactions. Before we talk about what we think it means, the reactions from the left, some of them were utterly amazing. My favorite is from feminist Jill Filipovic, I guess her name is pronounced. She has written a book, I can't remember the title of it, but she has written a book which apparently claims that the female orgasm is a right, that women have a right to an orgasm which should be guaranteed by the government. I heard that, and I have to admit that I thought to myself, well, back in the day, I'd have guaranteed you an orgasm for free. But that's such an awful, disgusting, low thing to say that I would never say that out loud. Jill Filipovic tweets, at what point is this not a failure of Democrats, but toxic, vindictive voters willing to elect hateful bigots? It's the voters' fault they lost. It's the voters, it's the deplorables. It's the deplorables' fault. I know it's more convenient to blame the party for just not convincing people, but what kind of people vote for candidates like Handel and Trump? This is the way they think. They hate you so much that they think it's your fault their candidates lose. Oh, I'm telling you, they make it so much fun. They make it so much fun to beat them. It's wonderful. But I think really, really the guys who have to take a look at themselves are the media, the news media. I mean, this Russia, if you had to look back over the first months of the Trump presidency, I don't have the figures in front of me, but it just seems, as a guy who follows the news, what was the story covered most? If you just had a percentage of what story covered most, it's the Trump collusion with Russia. It's got to be. It has got to be. They have piped this by. And by the way, I won't make a prediction, but it wouldn't surprise me if in the next day or two, or even today, there's some kind of new leak from the intelligence community, some new blockbuster thing, some new tremendous revelation about Trump and Russia that's going to come out that'll peter away, but it'll take this off the front pages, because that's the whole point of this stuff, is to take, only have negative news about Trump. But this is a rebuke to the media. It is a rebuke to a media that has told this false nonsense story. I mean, this is a story, you keep hearing them, like, how do we know that Trump didn't collude with Russia? For all I know, Trump shot a man in Reno just to watch him die, but there's no evidence. There is no evidence. There never was any evidence. It was always a fantasy, and they keep playing this fantasy, and this is Georgia saying, kiss our grits. We are not buying into that fantasy. It really is a failure of Hollywood, a failure of the Democrats, and a failure of the mainstream media. And we will talk about this more, but we're going to get to the mailbag. But I got to say first, I got to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube. Come on over to thedailywire.com. You can hear the rest of the show if you subscribe. It's just a lousy $8 a month. I mean, come on. If you subscribe, you can watch the whole thing. If you subscribe even for a month, you can get into next week's mailbag and ask your questions and have your life's problems solved. And if you subscribe for a year, you get Ben and David Shapiro's new book, Say It's So, about the White Sox championship season in 2005, the only one there will be in your lifetime. All right, so come on over to thedailywire.com.